Hey friends, and welcome back. I'm Jolene with Sanctuary Gardens, and today I wanted to go over some fall and winter plants that you can plant right now from seed and potentially get a fall, winter, even early spring harvest. It is currently the second week of September. It's a little bit late to be starting some things for at least in the Pacific Northwest, but there still are some stuff you can plant. I already have stuff planted in the garden for fall and winter. But still, I think it's a really good idea to consider planting some of these crops. As many of you know, almost the entire western states are on fire right now, and thankfully we don't have any fires nearby us, but we had a lot of wind that brought in smoke, so our air quality is 254 right now, which is considered very unhealthy. So I haven't been outside much at all, and when I am, I have a mask on. So yeah, it's kind of weird. It's very eerie. You can't see very far at all. My dogs are super antsy because we haven't taken them for a walk in 3 days. So we're all feeling a little cooped up right now. So I planted my fall garden, and I just kind of have an outline here of what I planted where. I have a lot of beds that I'm going to be resting, meaning that I'm not planting anything in the beds over the winter. But I do have some beds that I have some things planted in. I'm going to share what I planted and other things that I haven't planted that you can also try planting. Now, my frost-free date is October 23. That is 40 days from today. So I have to be very selective. If I'm planting right now, I have to be very selective on what kind of things I'm planting. So the first thing you need to do is find out what your first frost date is. Once you know that, you can easily Google how many days until, let's say it's October 23. You just Google how many days until October 23, and Google will give you a quick update on that. So for me, it's about 40 days. So whatever I plant, if I'm planting right now, I need to make sure that that it's a quick growing plant, or even if it's not necessarily a quick growing plant, that it's something that will overwinter and could potentially give me an early spring harvest. A good one of that is things that like kale and spinach. So a couple things that I've planted. I feel like I did this video not that long ago because honestly, most of the plants that you be planting now are also the plants you plant in early spring because they actually prefer cold weather. They prefer cooler temperatures. They germinate in cooler temperatures, and sometimes they actually do better after a frost. One of the first things are your brassicas, which include kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, you name it. Now, the thing with broccoli and cauliflower, ones that produce heads, probably should have started those in like July and August as little seeds in the house, and then transplanted the seedlings outside. I didn't think that far in advance, so I didn't do that. But if that's something you want to do and it's already September, you might go to the store and see if you can find some plants. That's if you can. So I didn't worry about planting any of those type of crops. I did plant though some kale, and this kale was actually a free seed that I got from Baker's Heirloom Seeds when I ordered from them, and it actually says that it prefers cooler weather and actually does well with frost. So this is one of the things I planted. Now it's not going to get very big because once frost hits, it basically stops the growth. But you can be selectively picking, it'll almost be like baby greens. Another really good one is spinach. Spinach is great because this one here is 45 days until it's mature. And so I have 40 days, but I planted this a few days ago. So I'll probably have some pretty good mature leaves before the frost hits. But what's great is it'll go through the winter as well. Same with kale. It'll go through the winter, and you can be picking this stuff in very early spring when most people aren't even thinking about planting these crops. Another good one is Swiss chard. Now this one is 55 days to maturity, so you should probably consider planting this a little bit earlier, but you could do it and pick more like the baby greens, like some of the other stuff. Another good one is Bok Choy or Bok Choy. This is 49 days to maturity, so it is also fairly quick. And once again, you can be picking these when they're still kind of small. Maybe you don't wait until it's a big plant, but you can be planting, or you can be harvesting these sometime in October. Now you can try planting lettuce. This is a 48-day lettuce, which is fairly early for most lettuces. And so I went ahead and planted some. We'll see if I actually get them germinating, but this one says it's specifically good for fall planting. Some other things you can try that do well in cooler weather are your root crops, such as beets, and beets are usually pretty fast at producing, and if they aren't fully mature by the frost, usually by early spring, I'm thinking like February and March, they'll start growing again and get a little bigger, and you could be harvesting them as early as March. So I planted 3 different varieties of beets. Radishes, this is another excellent one because they are so fast growing. This is 26 days to maturity. So plenty of time before the first frost, we can be harvesting these radishes. If you don't end up harvesting these before you get your first frost, they are frost hardy, so they maybe the leaves might kind of die, but the actual radish part of the plant will be fine, and you can harvest them through most of the winter. And I didn't plant this year, but kohlrabi is another pretty fast one that is a root crop that you can try planting in the fall. Oh, and another thing that you can plant, this is an excellent crop you can plant in the fall, is garlic. Especially here in the Pacific Northwest where we have cool enough winters. Garlic, it does really well, usually planted in October, and then it goes through the winter, and then in early spring you fertilize it, and then by July you're harvesting it. So start thinking about garlic. I went online to order some, and most of the companies were out of garlic to sell. So I planted a bunch of garlic last year and I harvested it. I'm going to be planting that garlic this year. So I will do a video on how to plant garlic when the time comes in October, but definitely start thinking about that. See if you can order some, or if not, you can technically use the garlic from stores. It's not preferable, but you can do that. And so we'll kind of go over all that. Now, there has been a seed shortage with pretty much every seed company that I have looked online to order from, because I wanted to order some seeds, and I looked up, I would say close to a dozen different seed companies, and all of them a lot of things were out of stock. This is something that we're going to be dealing with probably even next year, is dealing with seed shortages and plant shortages. So just be aware of that. If you're going to order seeds, try to think of things beforehand to order. Don't do like me, where I'm like, oh, it's September, maybe I should plant a fall garden, and then go to order seeds, and like they're all out of stuff. So like start thinking ahead and start thinking about how to seed save. In fact, I'm going to see about doing a video on seed saving. I'm not an expert at it, and this is kind of my first real year of seed saving. But you definitely need to start thinking about that, because we may be at a point where we can't get certain seeds that we want. I also, there's been a canning supply shortage, and so I had some friends that were visiting from California last weekend, and I was like, please help me bring some canning supplies from down south. And so they did. Actually, they bought a whole bunch of canning jars, and then Will found some stuff online that we could buy. So I think I'll have enough canning supplies for this year. But my goodness, guys, there's a lot of people who grew gardens and who are canning and preserving their own food this year, which I think is fantastic. I love that people are actually thinking about like how to be more self-sufficient. I think it's wonderful. But for those of us who've done this for many years and suddenly we're like, where's all my canning supplies? It's a bit overwhelming. So hopefully if you're in the same boat as myself, that you found a source for getting those things. But yeah, good luck. So hopefully you thought of at least one of these things that maybe you can plant in the fall here, so you can enjoy it in the fall and winter, and maybe even the early spring. What's really great about here in the Pacific Northwest, at least where I'm at in Washington State, our winters are just mild enough that we can have a lot of stuff go through the winter, but it's cool enough that it actually encourages sweetness, and some things like carrots actually get a lot sweeter after frost, and Brussels sprouts get a lot sweeter after frost. So we're kind of in that perfect zone for having some crops in the winter. Someday my goal is, if we ever get to that, is to do like hoop houses over some of my beds, so that it actually keeps the inside air several degrees warmer, so you can germinate things easier, and you can keep things through the winter a lot better. But that's probably a long-term goal at this point. So I hope you learned something new today. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. I try to put out content whenever I can. I'm gonna be coming out with, hopefully soon, on how to seed save and also how to prepare your garden for winter and stuff like that. So thanks for watching. Go out and grow something, guys. Be safe out there. God bless.